Want to join the Sugyah Live? WhatsApp plus 19148 936 848 or email us at info@theshmuz.com. This is your chance to truly grow and elevate your learning experience. Thanks for joining today's session. The Sugyah is available live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. You will receive More Makomos and will be in direct contact with Rabbi Shafier and the Sugyah community.
Okay, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, Shiur number 2. So we're going to do a quick recap. We got a lot of work to do this evening. Okay, here we go. Elul Dvarim She'ein Lahem Shiur. These are the things that are no measure on below and above, meaning no minimum, no maximum. Deraisa, Peah, leaving over part of your corner of your field. Bikurim, first fruits, around either the amount of time you spend when you bring the 3 times a year when you're Ola Regel, or the kabbanas that you bring, again, have neither minimum nor maximum. Gemilas chasadim, that means going out to do chesed, v'talmud Torah, and learning Torah. These are the matters that a person eats in this world, meaning he benefits in this world, he gets the benefit, and the actual principle remains to the world to come. What are these areas? Kibbud av v'em, honoring your father and mother. Gemilas chasadim, again, also doing chesed. V'ava shalom benam l'chaveiro, and promoting the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make book. And Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, and Talmud Torah is Keneged Kulam. All right, now we saw the Gra. The Gra told us what this means. Why the Tana told us 2 chedushim. And number 1, why did the Tana say the minimum amount? To teach us a tremendous yesod, and that even teva achas, there's no minimum amount of learning Torah, even 1 word of Torah, and you yotze the full mitzvahs asay of limud Torah. Provide 1 in the morning and 1 at night. That's sufficient, right? So that's, and why the Tana teaches this. And Tana taught us it and to make us love Torah even more. Why? Every single word of Torah that you learn, mitzvah is a separate mitzvah in and of itself. And I'll prove it to you, says the Gra. Torah. Yotze the full mitzvah limud Torah with 1 word of Torah. Shishkula keneged kol mitzvahs, which is shakul keneged all the mitzvahs. Okay, now the Gra continues. He continues and says, included in this is the principle that we're not mavatal Torah even for a mitzvah if that mitzvah can be done by somebody else. It said logic demands this. Why? Every single word of Torah in and of itself is a mitzvah gedola, which alone is shakol keneged all the other mitzvahs. And so when you're learning 1 daf, you fulfill many hundreds of mitzvahs. So if you have a choice, let's say it's a Gemilas Chasan burying a person, but there are plenty of people to bury him. You could join into that, or you could learn. It's Seichel Machayev, you should learn. Why? Because doing that mitzvah is a mitzvah, but it's only 1 mitzvah. Going to learn is hundreds of mitzvahs, the Seichel Machayev, that you should do hundreds of mitzvahs rather than 1. Again, if there's no one to do it, okay, then you have to do it. But assuming there are enough people to do it, you let them do it, and you learn, and you get hundreds of mitzvahs at the same time. Okay, now, and that's what the Gra says. And again, it's just a very important point. Yesod, limud Torah, and Tarek mitzvahs, and limud Torah is equal. And again, we did the math. The math you got to do in a lifetime, 1 hour a day. And in a lifetime, you'll rack up 100,000 mitzvahs asay. All right, very nice, Gra. And again, gentlemen, 2 chedushim. Number 1, if I have a choice of gemilas chesed that other people can take care of, and limud Torah, why does the Gra say I should do limud Torah? What's the Gra's logic? The what?
Even one word is even.
The sound is breaking up, but I think you're saying good. Even 1 word of Torah.
1 word.
Right. Even 1 word of Torah is a mitzvah say. Right? So therefore, if you have a choice of, let's say, helping for his mace. There are plenty of people to bury him, but you could help out there and do one mitzvah, or at the same time you could be learning, doing hundreds of mitzvah. The seichel is machayev. Logic dictates, logic demands, and that you should learn Torah. But gentlemen, let's not forget what the Gross says. Again, if I have a mitzvah that's efshel lasos idei acherim, why does Torah take precedence? Anybody? Nobody?
Because 197 million mitzvahs is a lot
Exactly.
more than the ones that we're talking about.
Right, but gentlemen, I'm making a very important point. I'm not stressing this because I'm bored. I'm stressing this because a very important point from the Gra that we're going to see is very, very questionable later on as we get into things. Okay, so far so good. All right. Shabbos Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, where it says Titania Chaverim She'er Oskim B'Torah.
We'll say, Rebbe, just really quick. So,
Yeah.
so the Gra's point is that in general in the world there's going to be more mitzvahs done if you continue learning and someone else does that other mitzvah. Is that his point?
I don't know. He says a seichel mechayev, and you have a choice of doing one mitzvah or doing hundreds of mitzvah. Seichel demands do hundreds of mitzvahs. That's what I see him saying. Right? It's just logical. If you have a choice, look, you have a choice. There are other people to bury him. He doesn't need. It's not a mason mitzvah. Other people could help, right? Plenty of people. Do you add to it and do one mitzvah, or do you do hundreds of mitzvahs? Hundreds of mitzvahs is more like the seichel mechayev. You do hundreds of mitzvahs.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You said that it's when there's someone else to do the mitzvah.
Yes.
Well, if learning is still shakol keneged kulam, why does it make a difference if there's someone else to do the mitzvah?
Well, the point is, if there was no one else to do the mitzvah, I'd have to stop learning.
Why?
We don't know yet why. I'm not sure why. We're going to see. That's part of the issue we're going to discover. But if there was no one else to do it, I would have to stop learning and do it. But if there are other people to do it, so I don't have to stop learning, I have an option. I could do that mitzvah, or I could learn. Seichel is machayev. Logic dictates that you should learn. Why? Because learning is hundreds of mitzvahs, whereas that is only one mitzvah.
Okay. My question is only academic, by the way. Obviously, if somebody needs to be buried, I'm not trying to advocate.
No. You're asking a very good question, because morality is dictated by God, not by our feelings. So we have to understand what is the mechanism. And what you're right. What we don't. The halacha is you have to, if it's a mason mitzvah, you stop whatever you're doing, you do it. Question is mechanically, what's the mechanism? Why is it? Right. And why, and more than that, why don't we say osik mitzvah patam mitzvah? That's really the question. If I'm learning, I'm steiging, I'm learning a Sugyah, and I heard about mason mitzvah. Why don't I say I'm osik b'mitzvah limit Torah? I'm pater from the mitzvah. So we'll have to see the mechanism. All right, we'll see. All right, now we have a Gemara Shabbos. The Tanya Brisa says, "Chaverim she'er oskim b'Torah." And there's a group of people who are osik in Torah. Mafsikin l'krishma. They have to stop when it comes time for Shema. They have to stop. They mafsikin l'tefillah, but for tefillah they don't have to stop. They keep learning. They don't have to stop davening. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said about this Brisa, Lo shan al gagon Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai v'chaverav. Who are we talking about that don't have to stop for tefillah? And people, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and his ilk, shetorason umnoson, because what they did for profession was learn. They're professional limud. They were not learner earners. They were learner learners, right? So therefore, their Torah was umnus. Avakugon anu, but like people like us, this is Rabbi Yochanan speaking. People like us, mafsikin l'krishma l'tefillah. And since we stop anyway to earn a living, and therefore we have to stop for krishma and tefillah. Okay, let's just see Rashi. Chaver moskim Torah mafsikin torason l'kriya shema. They stopped their Torah learning to say Shema. There's mana deraisa. There's mana for tefillah. Shema is deraisa. Mishoch v'chav kamecha. They mafsikin l'tefillah. However, they don't have to stop for davening. Aval Anu says Rabbi Yochanan, but people like us, since we stopped learning anyway for our parnasa, kol shekin shenafsik l'tefillah. Kavachon we stop for tefillah. Okay, so far so good. And the Gemara says, what are you talking about? That's impossible. Vatanya, we have a brisa that argues against that. And the brisa says, "Kashem she'im afsikin l'tefillah," just like you don't stop Torah learning to daven, kach im afsikin l'krishma. So too, you don't stop learning for krishma. So what do you mean that you stop for Shema? The brisa says you don't. Answer is Kitaniyahi be'ibur shana. And when did this brisa say you're not mafsik for tefillah and you're not mafsik for krishma either? Was when you're involved in the mitzvah of ibur shana, of making a leap year. Damar Rav Adabar Ava, and Rav Adabar said, "Shechein tanu sabi dargonya." Amar Rav Bar Tzadok, Kishayinu oskim beibur shana. When we sat as a beis din, and we're dealing with the issue of whether this year should be a leap year or not, biyavne. We didn't stop lo krishma lo tefillah. We didn't stop for krishma nor for tefillah. Right now, gentlemen, why is it that they didn't stop for krishma nor for tefillah?
Because they were doing it already.
Osik b'mitzvah. Right? Okay, let's see if Rashi helps us out. Involved in this issue of Ibr Shana, okay, so basically, the answer to the brisa is like this. When did the brisa say you're not mafsik for tefillah or kshma? That's if you're involved in a mitzvah. That osik mitzvah patim mitzvah. But this other brisa, this first brisa that we had that says that you stop for Kriya Shema, that's when you're just learning, but you weren't involved in a mitzvah. Ha ha ha. Get the joke?
Yeah.
Question number one is, if one is learning Torah, he's obligated to stop for Kriya Shema and Tefillah. Why don't we say osik b'mitzvah patim in a mitzvah? It's shakol keneged kulam. The single biggest mitzvah is limud Torah. Yet we said that even the greats, even if you're Torah noso, if you're involved in learning, you stop for Shema. Why? You should be osik b'mitzvah patim mitzvah, and Talmud Torah is keneged kulam. Surely you shouldn't stop for anything. Yeah, according to me, right? That's kasha 1. Okay, good. Kasha number 2 coming up is we have a Rambam. The Rambam tells us ish mitzvah perivya v'lo isha. A man is commanded on perivya, but not a woman. When is a man obligated in the mitzvah perivya? When he turns 17. And the kevan shavru esrim shana v'lo nasa isha. Once he's 20 years of age and he didn't get married, Areza over umavatal mitzvahs asay. From that moment on, he's over and he's umavatal mitzvahs asay. He's not allowed to do it. He has to get married. He's 20. You have to get married. However, says the Rambam, osik b'Torah v'Torah ba. But however, if he's in yeshiva and he's learning, but he's afraid to get married because he'll have to be involved in earning a living for his wife. The Yavatam and a Torah, and that'll cause him to be Mavatam and Torah. In that case, he's allowed to delay. Why? Sha'osik b'mitzvah patim b'mitzvah. Because she came in Talmud Torah, kavachomer, regular mitzvah, you're involved in mitzvah patim mitzvah, kavachomer, a mitzvah that shakol keneg kulam, right? And so basically, a man can delay getting married because he's involved in mitzvah limud Torah, even though he's mitzvah perivya. Nevertheless, we say, since he's involved in the mitzvah of limud Torah, osik mitzvah patim in mitzvah. So question number 2 is, Jigali, did the Rambam forget that we don't say osik mitzvah patim mitzvah by mitzvah of limud Torah? Meaning, it's a bright, I don't know why we don't say it, but one thing I do know from this Gemara in Shabbos, I know one thing for sure, even when you're dealing with Rav Shimon Bar Yochai v'Chaveirov, we don't say osik mitzvah patim mitzvah by limud Torah. So yet the Rambam says a regular person, or a 20-year-old guy, he's allowed to say I'm osik mitzvah patim mitzvah. Makes no sense. All right, so those are the 2 questions. And now
wait, I thought we did say from the Gemara with the Chodesh or whatever it was that we did say osik mitzvah patim mitzvah by limud Torah.
Yeah, but not by limud Torah. That was by Ibur Shana. And that's a real mitzvah. The Torah is not a real mitzvah, or something like that. I don't you know.
Wait, what?
I don't know.
What was Rebbe's first question?
The first question is why don't we say osik mitzvah patim mitzvah by limud Torah? I see from the Gemara in Shabbos we don't say it. Right? This Gemara shows me and there is no concept of osik mitzvah patim mitzvah by limud Torah. Why? I don't know why, but that's the law. I see that the Gemara in Shabbos says that clearly, right? I mean, when you're dealing with Ibur Shana, that's a mitzvah. osik mitzvah pater mitzvah. But limud Torah doesn't fit that rule. Again, I don't have a clue to why, but this is the principle I see from the Gemara on Shabbos. And when it comes to learning, you don't say the rule of osik mitzvah pater mitzvah, right? Now, again, our first question is, gee golly, why not? Talmud Torah keneged kulam sounds like a big mitzvah. Why in the world wouldn't you say he's osik in the mitzvah limud Torah? He should be pater. So that's question number one. Question number two is the Rambam seemed to have forgotten the Gemara in Shabbos. Because the Rambam says, if you're osik in Torah, osik mitzvah pater mitzvah, Rabbi Rambam, didn't you notice there's a Gemara in Shabbos that says, I don't know why not, but for some reason this rule doesn't apply to limud Torah.
One second, Rebbe, what is Iber Shana exactly?
Iber Shana means making a leap year. Like this year, we have a double Adar, right? Why? Because Pesach has to come out in the Oviv, it has to come out in spring. And the lunar calendar is shorter than the solar calendar. And if you let it run enough years, it ends up that it won't be Chag Oviv, it'll be in the middle of February or in the middle of winter when you have Pesach. So when that comes close, Chazal were given the Beis Din, were given the right to make certain years Ibr, to make them leap. Now we have the calendar, 19-year cycle we always follow, but the point is, in the time of the Gemara, in the time of the Mishnah, he would meet as a Sanhedrin. It's a mitzvah on Beis Din to paskin whether it should be a leap year or not. That's a mitzvah. Since they're involved in that mitzvah, they were patur from the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema.
Okay, so that's not Tal Limud Torah. Iber Shana has nothing to do with Limud Torah.
Right, not Limud Torah, it's right. All right, and so these are the two questions. All right, so now we're up to tonight. Now we're up to this session, tonight's session. Okay, here we go. Kedushin Daf Mem Amud Beis. Let's learn a Bissel Gemara. Good thing to do. By the way, guys, you know how many hundreds of words of Torah we already learned this evening? We are wealthy, and I mean this. You have to count your wealth. By the way, it's a trick of the Satan. You don't know how to learn, and how much you learn anyway? You're nobody or nothing. Those are words of the Satan. You have to count your riches. If I learn for an hour, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mitzvahs. I say each one like lulav and esrog and tefillin, and it's you have to count your riches. Okay.
Rabbi, do we know if that works for someone listening to someone? I mean, if you're not saying the words of Torah, you're just listening and thinking and learning.
Yeah. Well, the Gra told us the Gisa Yom V'Layla. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. Again, I since I learned that the Sugyah, I've been very careful to speak out in the morning. Again, I used to be silent. You hear me now in the morning, I'm singing, I'm loud. Yeah, I'm about tshuva. I would be careful to speak out words. First of all, it's supposed to be better for zikaron, but there is more of an inyan. The Shulchan Aruch Rav holds you not yotzin mitzvah say unless you speak it out. It doesn't seem to be the accepted halacha, but there is a shita, so I would be careful to speak it out. Maybe you could put yourself on mute and lip sync with me. Or no, I'm Shemek only works at this, but all right. Anyway, Rabbi Tarfon is a kanim mesubim balias based in the tzad blood. Rabbi Tarfon and his kanim who are mesubim in the aliyah of a certain person in Lud. Nishala sheila zubifnayim. This question was asked in front of them. Talmud gadol or ma'isa gadol. What's greater, learning Torah or doing mitzvahs? What is a better thing? Is it better to learn Torah or is it better to do mitzvahs? Another Rabbi Tarfon answered and said, ma'isa gadol, better to do mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are better. Another Rabbi Kiva answered and said, no, Talmud gadol, not true. Talmud is greater. I have a choice of a mitzvah or Talmud. Gemara is a bit greater. None kulam v'amru. They all answered and said, Talmud gadol, shatalmud mevi lidei ma'isa. They all, and this seems to be the psak, they all agreed that Talmud is greater, but why? Because Talmud is mevi li ma'isa. Talmud leads to ma'isa. Interesting expression. And why is Talmud greater? Because Talmud leads to ma'isa. There's a Mishnah that told us Talmud Torah shakol keneged kulam. Why don't we just say that reason? Maybe this is the reason for that. Elnaton would say, maybe. But it's curious why the Gemara says this reason, Talmud gadol, Talmud made the Maisa, and didn't just quote the Mishnah Payah. But okay, whatever the case. So again, basically, it was a question: what's greater, Talmud or Maisa? Which one do you have a mitzvah or you have limud Torah? Which one's greater? And so the Gemara's answer is Talmud gadol, Talmud mevi lidei Maisa. Okay, good. Now let's just look at Rashi. Mesa Saza Shem Ish, a man's there was name of a man. Shatalma Mevli de Maisa. What does it mean that Talmud de Maisa? Nimsu Shneim Biyado. He gets 2. If you do the Maisa mitzvah, okay, you did a mitzvah. And if you learning leads to mitzvahs. So you get 2 things. You get the limud, and you also get the Maisa. Something like that. So far, so bad. Does anyone have a clue what's going on here?
Yeah, I have a clue. I mean, it's moving along nicely. It flows together.
What was the Gemara's question? What's this one and that one? What's the question? Is it?
I mean,
cares? We're doing accounting. We're counting. We're doing cheshbon. We're doing accounting work over here. Martin, you're a lawyer, not an accountant. Accountants would love this going. What's more value in the midst of this, in the midst of that? Rabbi Kiva says this, Rabbi Tarfon says that. Who cares? What's this, a Musa Shmuz over here? You get more schar. What's good? I can't read this Gemara.
So wait, there's also we established in the last year. I think I don't want to say wrong, but one of the Talmidim on the Zoom here said that we learned before that there are mitzvahs that are time sensitive, and they're in a different level of mitzvahs. So I'm waiting for the Gemara to come along and say basically that mitzvahs that can be done at any time. Obviously, Limud Torah is on top of the score here. Things that you have to do, you have, let's say, a certain zman. You can't tell the bris guy that you're not doing a bris for your son because you're going to sit and learn instead.
Right. You have
it's not happening.
Right. You have the matzah on Pesach. You can't eat it in the middle of Sukkot. You have to pick a little of an esrog and test Tishrei, right?
Right. So there's certain mitzvahs that are time sensitive, and you don't have that. So what do we pick? We pick Kriya Shema, and we pick Tefillah, which is Shmona Esrei, because you have time sensitive issues here. Good. And the question becomes, okay, what's the story? Even though you have all these mitzvahs, even though whatever. Now, earlier we learned that great Rabbanim from yesteryear, tremendous learners. So perhaps they maybe could have been on such a madrega that they shouldn't stop learning, but it's not something that we should even think of doing. Martin, which means,
I don't mean to cut you off. It's a wonderful concept you're saying. Do you know what the Gemara's question is here? Could you explain to me what this Gemara's question is? Talmud Gadol Maisa Gadol. What is the Gemara's question?
Well, what's bigger to be a
who cares?
Who cares?
Is this a Musar Shmuz? Again, we learn Musar. If this was a Musar, if the Gemara is teaching us some Agadata, maybe, but there's a Shaila. A question was asked.
He's saying Lahalacha, if you have X amount of time in your day, are you supposed to spend it learning? Or are you supposed to spend it going to weddings and dancing for the Kala?
Okay, is that that's what I'm asking? What are we talking about? Is that the question?
That's the Pashup shot, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not. You're saying it's not a mitzvah chiyuvis, and I'm not obligated to do this mitzvah. Like let's say there's a wedding, right? I don't have to go. I'm not the uncle. I'm not the brother. I'm not the right. I don't have to go. I have a choice. So I go to the base medrash, or do I go to the chasana hall? That's a Gemara Shaila. And Rav Tarfon says go to the chasana hall. Rabbi Kiva says no, rather you do Talmud, and everyone agreed Talmud's greater because Talmud maybe the Maisa. Okay, good. At least we have an approach. Fine, good. Let's see.
Before we continue, if you're enjoying this content and want daily inspiration, join our WhatsApp group. Get uplifting messages directly from Rabbi Shafier himself. Just message +1 91489 36848 to get started.
Okay, no problem so far, right?
Okay,
good.
That means it's be a problem. All right.
Talmud is brings Maisa. Doesn't that sound like Maisa's better?
Oh yeah. Sure does, doesn't it? Sure does, doesn't it? Say it again,
like
please.
That's the ultimate goal.
Right. So what's greater?
Hey,
Like,
Rebbe,
I
really,
it
is it
said
really?
Talmud is greater, but the ultimate goal is to get to the Misa. Sounds
Right.
like the Misa is greater. So I
Right.
don't know what's.
So if it weren't for Rashi, I would have your kasha. But Baruch Hashem, Rashi answered that kasha. Believe me, that kasha is valid. And Tosfos deals with it, and Rishonim deal with it. But look how Rashi answers that. And why is Talmud greater? Should Talmud the Maisa mean because Maisa is greater? No. Nimsu Shneim biyado. You get two for the price of one. The Maisa is less than Talmud. But you know what the big advantage of Talmud is? Talmud, you get both. You get learning and you get the Maisa. Nimsu Shneim biyado. You get both. Two for the price of one.
You don't get the Misa now, though. You'll do a Misa sometime later because you learn halacha, but
Good. So you get it sometime. That's the point. You get it sometime. It's a double. You get two for the price of one. Meaning what Baruch is doing is he's saying the way the Gemara reads is why is it that you should do Ma'isa? Why should you do Talmud first? Talmud Gadol should Talmud maybe the Ma'isa. You know what the greatness of Talmud is? Talmud is so great because it brings you to the big thing called Ma'isa. I mean, Talmud's small and Ma'isa is big. Now that seems to be greatly problematic for a lot of reasons, right? Not the least of which is the Mishnah in Peah that says Talmud Torah Shakol Keneged Kulam, right? So it happens to be that's a valid question, and you'll see Tosfos. I don't know if we'll get into it. We'll see, but Tosfos is troubled by that problem. But again, Rashi seems to circumvent that whole issue. Nimsu Shneim biyado, meaning it's not that Talmud brings to this great thing called Ma'isa. No, and Talmud is better. Why is Talmud better? Because you get two for the price of one. When you learn, you'll have the spiritual nourishment, you'll have the superpower within you that the next day you'll do more mitzvahs. So you end up with both the limit and the mitzvahs. Something like that.
I mean, if we're keeping score, though, you're going to get a lot more mitzvahs from just sitting and learning, like we said already. It's a matter of how many things you're going to end up accomplishing. The math doesn't work this way.
What are you asking, Jake?
I mean, you're saying now you're going to end up with multiple. You're going to have the Misa and you're going to have Lima. It's like they're shakal. It's like you're going to have mitzvah A and mitzvah B, but mitzvah A is really a lot more than that.
What Jake is saying is what? Jake, say it. What are you saying? Ask it as a bomb kasha.
His math is wrong. Rashi's math doesn't make any sense.
Meaning the Gra is wrong or Rashi is wrong, but both of them, somebody's mistaken. I think the Gra is wrong. Right. Why? Look at this. Why is Talmud Gadol? Let's say you guys are right. You guys told me, you made a proposal. You told me, Gemara's question like this. I have a choice of going to a chasana tonight. I don't have to. I'm not an uncle, I'm not a brother, but I could. Or I could sit and learn. And what? So the Gemara pilpul back when Rabbi Tarfon says this, Rabbi Kiva says that. Finally, agree. Talmud, you should do Talmud. Why? What would the Gra say? Why should you do Talmud?
There's a lot more. You're going to be mekayim a lot more mitzvah.
Right? You're doing hundreds of mitzvahs limud, and the chassan is one mitzvah. And the Gra told us a beautiful. A seichel is mechayev. That's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says Talmud Gadol should Talmud v'dei ma'isa. What? What does that mean? What does that mean? And that's not the right answer. The right answer is Talmud Gadol because it's hundreds of mitzvahs as opposed to chassan is one mitzvah. So the Gra cannot fit into this Gemara. That's what Jake is asking. Right? Binyamin Pesach, do you agree? This Gemara says you have Talmud over here and Mice over here. It's a question. Which one weighs more answers? I'll tell you the answer. And Talmud you should do because Talmud made the mice. And I don't know exactly what the pshat is. Maybe like Rashi, maybe like Tosfos. But one thing for sure, I know. I have the following question: I could either learn right now, or I could go to the chassan. I don't have to do either one necessarily. I could do either. I have my choice. I'm not obligated to anyone necessarily. And which one do I choose? Choose learning. Why? Because learning brings to Maisa. If I were to grow, I would say, what do you mean learning? Learning is hundreds of mitzvahs. Seichel is machayev, the Gra told us. And Seichel is machayev. If learning is hundreds of mitzvahs, and the wedding is one mitzvah, what do you do the math?
Yeah, we still say if it's Yeshar al-Dayachem, you do the other mitzvahs.
You guys told me that's not pshat in this Gemara. Wait. Now you're changing on me? These guys, I asked you what's pshat in this Gemara Shaila. And you told me it's not Yeshar al-Dayachem, it's Efshar al-Dayachem. That's what you guys told me. Now, if you want to change...
Right. No, fair enough. And then that makes sense.
Good. If that's true, so I say then the Gra missed his Gemara. Why? Because the Gemara said, look, I have a question. You could either dance at that wedding, or you could learn Torah. Which do we do? I'll tell you what. You learn. Why? Because learn brings to the mice. And Rashi says, nice lumdis, so you get 2, or whatever, right? According to the Gra, what kind of question is that? Torah is hundreds of mitzvahs, and the Chasen is 1 mitzvah. Haseichel machayev, says the Gra. Our logic demands you do the hundreds of mitzvahs as opposed to the 1. Rabbi Gra, with all due respect, not what the Gemara says.
I mean, Rebbe, even without Rashi, the Gra is in big trouble with this Gemara, Pashup Pshat. For Rashi, if anything, you could really dray Rashi to be like the Gra. You could say, I feel like you could say, Shnehem means you get a Maisa for learning Torah, plus you get to learn Torah. It's like extra.
All right, maybe. You mean hundreds of mitzvahs. Again, I still think it wouldn't fit well, but you're right. The Gra and the Gemara Kedushin do not seem to fit well together. Now, I would be hard pressed to assume that the Gra missed this Gemara. Yeah.
We were talking about this last time, but even if it is Yeshiva De'acher, I still don't understand why it makes sense according to the Gra. Meaning, if just because that mitzvah is not going to be accomplished now, if you're looking at a balance sheet, you're still accomplishing a lot more, right?
Okay, now you're right, but for some reason we don't know yet why. For some reason, if it's Yeshiva De'acherim, the rule is you do that one. And
no, that's the rule, but we don't have the Hesber, right? At this point.
Right, correct. We do not know why. But even not about the Gra, we don't know why. According to everybody, Talmud Torah is Keneged Kulam. It's the most important mitzvah. So surely, but it's not necessarily on the Gra kasha, it's Stam kasha. So, but with this Gemara is a kasha on the Gra, because here we're talking about where it is Efshai De'acherim. I don't have to go to the wedding. So if that's the case, I could either go to the wedding or learn. That's my choice. And what kind of question is that? Hundreds of mitzvahs versus 1 mitzvah. But that's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, a Talmud maybe the Maisa. All right, so there's a problem.
Why are we assuming that? Just because that's what guys were posing before. I mean, the Bach's not saying that, right?
Yeah, the Bach did say exact. Bach says that's exactly what the Gemara is saying.
So is that Pashup Pshat in the Gemara, or is that?
Well, the Bach says because there's no other way to read this Gemara.
No, I meant the way we said it before. I mean, you're assuming it's Efshar Yudei, right?
The Bach says that has to be the case. Why? Because always, what's the Gemara's kasha?
Yeah, and I was just curious with the Pashup Pshat reading it. That's the way we were saying it originally. That it is Efshar Yudei.
To be honest with you, I couldn't read this Gemara before the Bach. I don't know what it was talking about. Gadol Maisa. I don't know what's the case. I don't know how to read it. I don't have a clue. Baruch Hashem, we have Achronim, Rishonim to teach us how to read, because I wouldn't know what to do with this Gemara. I don't know. Talmud Gadol Maisa. What's the case? I don't know. The Gemara forgot to tell us. Would you please tell me what the case? No, figure it out yourself. All right, Baruch Hashem, we have Rishonim. Help us. All right, fine. And so this is the Gemara.
Also, I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Talmud Gadol Shal Talmud Nevi Lidei Maisa.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to come to a Maisa if every time you decide what to do, you're going to choose Talmud?
So first of all, what about if it's Ef Shaydeh Chayrim? You'll definitely do those Maisas.
Okay.
Yeah. But your question before was a mighty good question, which is it becomes an impossible loop, by the way. I was thinking about this. If you read it the way Tosfos does, the Talmud maybe the Maisa, meaning Maisa is the big thing. So do Talmud, because Talmud Lidei Maisa, it's an impossible loop. What do you mean Talmud Gadol because Talmud Lidei Maisa? I mean Talmud's not Gadol. I don't know. It's we'll see. We'll have to see about it. Okay. Yeah.
Rebbe, I mean, if you say not like Rashi, you could say it's like a Musar Shmuz or shtickle that like really ultimately the best thing is to learn Torah, but is to do mitzvos. But if you don't learn Torah, so you're never going to realize the importance of mitzvos, and the Mela, you're just going to sit and watch TV all day.
Okay, good, but now that may be true.
That doesn't help the Gra.
No, it doesn't help the Gra, and it doesn't quite fit with Rashi. Is it a Pashup Pshat? I'm not sure. I mean, I hear you're right.
Maybe is it possible they were?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Now I'm just wondering: is it possible they were asking more like, what are we supposed to consume our time with on a daily basis? Are we supposed to have majority of our day? Are we supposed to be running after Maisas? Are we supposed to be running after Talmud Torah? And he's saying,
correct.
really, you should. Well,
that is Gemara's question. I believe you're right. That's how
Okay.
the
So
sets
so
up the
really
first
saying
question.
really so really okay, fine. So really be'etzim in a perfect world, you should be running after mices. Problem is, if you just ran around mice doing mices, first of all, you wouldn't know what to do and you wouldn't know how to do it. So he says, really, in the way the word Hashem structured the world, you need to first be learned, because learned is going to lead you to the way to do mices correctly, right? Instead of being a chamor no seis farim, you're gonna actually be doing it. You're gonna be doing it correct. I mean,
So,
doesn't that seem to be like the end?
let me tell you the problem. The problem is,
Yeah.
I once saw this, and I had to look again and again and again. Who was it? The Shari Tshuva. One of the Muslim says, "Baruch Hashem that Hashem created shikha. Otherwise, a person would learn the whole Torah and have nothing to do." Huh? What is it? Otherwise, a person would learn the whole Torah and he'd have nothing to do. Baruch Hashem, Hashem created shikha. What I'm saying to you is like this. Apparently, there was a time when people knew. They knew. You spent a few years and you learned that, like exactly what the Ramchal says. How do you learn? First, you go through all of Bavli, then go through Shalmi, and go through Shulchan Aruch, and then keep it on your fingertips, but spend most of your time in Kabbalah. But every once in a while, come back to Bavli and Shulchan Aruch, because you have to have that in your hands, but you don't have to spend most of your time in it. A different generation, apparently, they learned for a few years, whatever, and they knew. So that kind of person, he knows what to do. Now, what does he do? So that kind of person is Gadol Maisa or Gadol Torah. That could be.
You're saying this is a person that Mamish learned everything already, and still they're saying the purpose of your day should be all about Talmud Torah.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Rabbi, that's the Pashup shot in the Lashon. The Lashon doesn't say should Talmud because then he'll know how to do mitzvahs. He says maybe lead a ma'asim. It's going to bring you to do it. It's going to make you get up and go and do it.
We're not talking about an 8-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid or 18-year-old. We're talking about someone who's already, he knows what he's doing in life. And now again, I find those things humorous because Shem Yirachem. But all right, whatever. Okay. Anyway, okay. So far so good. All right,
how about Hiddur mitzvah? There's ways to do mitzvahs and there's ways to do mitzvahs. And if you sit and learn, you mamish learn how to do something at the right level of however you're supposed to do that mitzvah. And maybe that's what we're supposed to know. We're supposed to not just do the mitzvah, but mamish know what
Martin,
it is to do the mitzvah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. The problem is that there were generations once upon a time who knew that stuff. They learned that. They knew that already. Now what do? I'm already 40. I learned Kol Torah Kula already. I'm 40 years old. And by the way, the Ramchal died at 39. He died at 39. One second, Betty. One second. Shuldik. The Ramah, the Ashkenazic posting equal to the Shulchan Aruch. How old was he when he died? 33. Let me say it again. 33. 33 years. At 33, I know how to hold the Gemara. I hope I know which way to hold it. I don't know. What can I tell you? It was a different generation.
They decided the Rizal was 38, and he was only in Tzfas for 2 years. He was associated with Tzfas. He was only in Tzfas for the last 2 years of his life.
I hear you. The different generations. Okay, let's go on, gentlemen. We got to do the Gemara Moed Katan. Okay, here we go. Says the Gemara Moed Katan is of Tess. After their discussion, they had the following question. The pasuk says as follows: Yikara hi mipnimim. Torah is more precious than pearls. V'chol chavatzecha. All of your desires lo yishroda, do not equal to it. Meaning, how great is Torah? Torah is more precious than pearls, and anything that man desires. You want cars, you want luxury houses, whatever you want, doesn't equal Torah. But the Gemara makes a dig in the pasuk. Chavatzecha, all of your desires don't equal it. Achavtzei shemayim yeshuba, but desires of shemayim equals it. Meaning other mitzvahs are equal to Torah. All of your desires don't equal Torah, and the Chavsei Shemayim, desires of Shemayim, mitzvahs equals Torah. Frank, the Gemara is a stira. Uksiv, the other pasuk says, Kol chavatzachem la yeshuba. All of your desires and don't equal it. All the desires, not just all your desires, Kol chafatzim, all desires don't equal Torah. Dafil Chavsei Shemayim la yeshuba. even mitzvahs don't equal Torah. And that's a stira. I mean, here it says only your desires don't equal Torah, but Chefsei Shemayim do equal Torah, better than Torah, equal Torah. But here it says all of your all desires altogether, not just yours, even Chefsei Shemayim don't equal Torah. And for the Gemara, Kam b'mitzvah she'efshel asosei de'achirim, Kam b'mitzvah she'efshel asosei de'achirim. And when do we say it's only your chafetzim don't equal it, but Chefsei Shemayim do equal it? And that's when it's efshel asosei de'achirim. We have a mitzvah that only you could do. Either you're obligated personally in a mitzvah, or it's a mitzvah that you have to do. Point is, it's efshel asosei de'achirim. And then we say that even greater than Torah is the mitzvahs. However, if it's efshai de'achirim, and then it's different. And then if it's efshai de'achirim, and then we say even Chefsei Shemayim don't equal to Torah. All right, let's see if we can understand this. Here we go. You have a choice: a siyas, a mitzvah versus limit of Torah. Right now, Gemara answers: Kam mitzvah she'efshel asosei de'achirim, kam mitzvah she'efshel asosei de'achirim. Right. So if you have a choice between these, kam mitzvah she'efshel asosei de'achirim, that's when you do a siyas, a mitzvah. Can you tell I did this in a dentist chair today? I apologize. These slides were made while I was waiting in the dentist chair. I'm not sure they make so much sense to me now. I didn't have laughing gas, but all right. Anyway, I'm not sure why we needed this so much, but at the time I thought we did. All right, but wait one second. Without the slides, you guys understand this Gemara? Again,
I was driving us crazy before whether the mitzvah was talking about Efshar Deichem or not. When Rabbi's going to introduce another Makom, which specifically discusses the issue.
I don't know what these are different Gemaras. What case are they talking about? I don't know if they're talking about the same case. You have to know. I don't. You can't assume anything until you see it. I mean, this Gemara, they may be contradictory. They may be different. The Bach doesn't think it's so simple. He doesn't just like take a cavalier. We'll see.
He doesn't just smear it all together.
Right, not at all. We're gonna have to see. It's very, very debatable. That's why we have to set everything up carefully. All right. So anyway, the Gemara's question like this. Asiyas mitzvah limit Torah. Here's the Gemara's question, right? One pasuk says, it's more Torah is more precious than pearls, and all of your desires don't equal it, but Chefsei Shemayim equal it. Meaning to say that mitzvah seems to come before Torah. Okay, good. I hear it says all of your desires, all desires at all don't equal it. Meaning what? Even Chefsei Shemayim don't equal it. It's a stirim sukkim. Meaning, if I ever see as a mitzvah and limit Torah, and one pasuk says limit Torah is greater, even asiyas and mitzvahs. Other pasuk says fakert, asiyas and mitzvahs is greater. Which one is it? So Gemara's answer is like this: Kan b'mitzvah she'efshel asosei de'achirim. When do we say that mitzvahs are greater than Torah? When it's efshel asosei de'achirim. And when do we say that Torah is greater by mitzvahs efshel asosei de'achirim? That's the Gemara's answer, right? So basically, if it's efshel asosei de'achirim, asiyas a mitzvah trumps it. If it's the other way, if it's a mitzvah that's efshel asosei de'achirim, then fakir limit Torah trumps it. Okay, let's just see Rashi. All of your desires don't equal Torah. Shedibato kol chavetzecha, be mevatel all of your desires. B'shul shetasik b'Torah. You should be mevatel all of your desires to be involved in learning Torah. But Chefsei Shemayim yishuba, it's your chavetzim. But Chefsei Shemayim equal it. Kolomar shim yeshcha lasuk mitzvah, and then tibato talmud Torah v'asuk mitzvah. If you should be mevatel Torah, if you asik mitzvah, and then shvatel Torah and asik mitzvah. All right, now, gentlemen, do we know anything at this point?
Not really.
That's very accurate. We don't really know anything at this point. I know very little. I've got no clarity so far. Now, I have on the agenda to do the tour and the Bach. The problem I have, though, is that it's already 10 after 10. So I think we used up our time. So I'll tell you what. Let us pause here for a Shabbos break, and we'll come back and we'll continue to Sugyah. Now, please look over carefully these two Gemaras, because we're going to see that they're very nogea, and how to learn them is going to be a big, big issue. And in fact, we're going to have to, again, basically, these are the three questions we're trying to answer. And number one is, why is it that osik mitzvah pater min mitzvah doesn't work by Torah? If I'm learning Torah, why isn't pater for all the mitzvahs? Number two, the Rambam says it does. The Rambam forgot the Gemara. Number three, the Gra forgot the Gemara. Gemara says, if I have a choice of a mitzvah, let's say going to a chassan or learning, says the Gra, of course, learning is hundreds of mitzvahs, going to chassan is one. Seichel is machayev. Logic dictates you do the mitzvah. Very nice, Rabbi Gra. With all due respect, the Gemara has a different logic. I think Gemara said, which is greater, Rabbi Tarfa and Rabbi Kiva, which one's greater, Talmud or Talmud Gadol? Why? Because it's maybe lead day maisa. Whatever that means, it sure is not what the Gra is saying. So there's three questions we have. And Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to see the Torah, the Bach, and we're going to keep moving. We're going to set things up nicely. Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to get some nice clarity in this sugya. Please, God.
Rabbi, can I just nitpick for 1 second?
Please.
It sounds like we really just have one question on the Gra. I mean, the other questions we could answer based on this Gemara and say that you're only supposed to interrupt Torah for mitzvahs that she'iyashar derech. But otherwise, you're not supposed to.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
So are we saying to get a hesber, really?
I would like to, gee golly, if Talmud Torah shakel can I get kulam, and by the way, let's be honest over here. This over here, these are nice psukim. You know what these psukim are? They're not in the Bible. These are nach. These are like kind of a smachta-y, kind of like, you can't really, it's not a pasuk chumash that you're learning how to limit from. It's a nice, I don't know how strong, if it's maybe it's more than a smachta, but it's not really a halachic source. If you try, let's say somebody said, it makes no sense what you're saying. Well, I have a pasuk in nach. Therefore, what? So sometimes a pasuk in nach can be a raya. If let's say a navi did something, okay, if a navi did it, so it could be a raya. But how can you make a diag in a pasuk and tell me a new halacha that osik mitzvah pater doesn't apply to limit Torah from a pasuk in nach? It's kind of a smart.
While we're at it, the Gisava Yam and Velayla is also in nach.
Yes, you're right. But again, that's Hashem was saying it to Yeshua. I don't know. You're right. And by the way, I had a big problem. When I was looking at this Gemara, I said to him, wait a minute, how do you see anything? Maybe this is what telling you a value system. How do you see anything from this? I've even seen a smachta from here. This is telling you value system. It's a musar shmuz. Torah is more precious than pearls, and all of your desires don't equal it. Good. What are you equal it? What are you talking about? No. What do you make a deal? How to China get deal like that? Anyway, whatever. The point is, it's not. If you don't have a very good hesber why osik mitzvah pater mitzvah doesn't apply to limit Torah, you could not learn these psukim and say, "Oh, I see the pasuk tells me it." It's not true. There has to be a very good reason, and the smachta is like an additional help, as a support, a smachta, which means it's a support, but it's not the reason for it.
And then if you do come out with a reason, then you got to understand what the Rambam's talking about. Then.
Yeah, then the Rambam is Pella.
The Rambam seems to apply that it's the
right. Osik mitzvah pater mitzvah applies, right? What to do with that Rambam? I don't know.
He says kal v'chomer though. He says kol shkein.
Even more kol shkein. But Rabbi Rambam, with all due respect,
could mean mitzvah. It should apply, but it technically doesn't apply.
No, but he says Torah. No, the Rambam says you're 17 years old, you're 20 years old. If you're learning Torah, don't worry about it. I also be Torah, meaning he said, once you're 20, you matal mitzvah say, but if you're osik b'Torah, don't worry about it.
Right, but he says osik mitzvah pater min mitzvah. The kol shkein Talmud Torah, that doesn't mean that that falls under osik mitzvah pater min mitzvah. It could mean, even though technically it doesn't, that kol shkein Talmud Torah it should work under a different mechanism.
I hear Binyan Pesach. You have a different mechanism that the Rambam didn't say, and you're supposed
to understand the mechanism. We have to understand if osik mitzvah pater mitzvah does not apply to Talmud Torah, then we have to understand why when it's when it's you continue learning.
Binyan Pesach. Right? I read the Rambam. The Rambam says the reason. If you are osik in Torah, you're allowed to continue. Why? Shal osik b'mitzvah pater mitzvah is the reason. The kol shkein b'talmud Torah that osik mitzvah pater mitzvah. If you have a different way to read the Rambam, you got to bring me 17 different proofs that the Rambam doesn't mean what he seems to be saying, because he sure seems to be saying Shal osik mitzvah potem mitzvah, and kol shekain Talmud Torah is osik b'mitzvah potem mitzvah. I mean, it's pretty hard to read this Rambam any other way. I think.
First, we have to understand the mechanism. Why is it if it's after Cherem that you continue learning? Why should you continue learning if it's not?
One thing. There are different things. On this, you have kashas, but you have a clear. One thing I know, you can't drag the Rambam to be saying osik mitzvah potem mitzvah doesn't apply by Torah, because he's saying it does. Now we have to answer how he answers the Gemara. Okay, we'll have to figure it out. But we're not going to change what he says. And he says the reason why, if you're 21 years old, you could keep learning is because osik mitzvah potem mitzvah and kol shekain Talmud Torah is osik mitzvah potem mitzvah. Now again, how does he answer Gemara Shabbos? I don't know, but that's what he's saying. But I'd rather keep him saying what he's saying and have a kasha than, change. We could redact. I know we could redact. The JTS does that.
What's the kol shekain?
Talmud Torah Shakol Keneged Kulam. If Madach, a regular mitzvah, osik mitzvah potem mitzvah, kol shekain your Torah is the biggest mitzvah. Surely it should be osik mitzvah potem mitzvah. All right, gentlemen.
Anybody have a problem with Yishvu is equal?
Yishvu
Doesn't say better.
Where are you? I'm sorry.
In Moin Katan. Lo Yishvu ba means it's not as valuable as Torah. So Torah is better than mitzvos. But Yishvu ba just means they're equal. It doesn't mean mitzvos win.
Again, Yeshua, all Yechafetzim don't equal it. Makes a deal. Yeshua. You mean so there should be a stalemate? I hear. Yeah, I hear. There should be a stalemate. So what do?
Oh, but it's not as simple as what it sounds like at the bottom.
I hear you. Good point. Very good point. Valid point. So one
Maybe
thing.
that's good for an understanding on the Efshar Cherem.
One thing. Yeshuba, Achav Shemayim Yeshuba. All Yechafetzim don't equal it, and Achav Shemayim do equal it. I'm not sure, Baruch, because it could mean and all your desires don't equal it, meaning put away all your desires, but Chav Shemayim does equal it, and therefore Chav Shemayim don't put away. I'm not sure.
Could that gufa be an explanation of why it's Efshar Cherem or not? Meaning, if it's Efshar Cherem, if they're both equal, why should I stop learning? Learning is also important. But if no one else can do it, so this is a mitzvah. It's impossible someone else is going to do it. So I got to go ahead and take care of it. I can't just sit and learn my own when this mitzvah is going to get taken care of. If it's equal, if they're both equal,
Right.
so then it means if it's Efshar Cherem, then I'm not going to stop learning. But if it's Efshar Cherem, I can't let this mitzvah sit and not get taken care of in order for me to start learning.
Interesting concept. Interesting. All right, good. And gentlemen, Yisrael Hashem will pick up Sunday night. Okay? Okay. All right, Shkoyach. Shabbos.
Thanks for joining us for today's podcast. We'll be posting more here, so be sure to come back for new content. For daily inspiration, join our WhatsApp group by messaging +19 1489 36848 or visit theshmuz.com for more resources. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@theshmuz.com. Looking forward to having you with us again soon.